Every time Donald Trump threatens a new tariff, it's not just the global economy that flinches, it's your wallet. He shouts, markets shake, headlines explode, and then, as always, he backs down. Donald Trump has always believed in the power of threats. But when it comes to tariffs, those taxes on imports that he loves to wield like a club, he's a repeat offender in bluffing and backing down. Let's go back to a few weeks ago. Trump stood before his raucous base and promised a 50% tariff on all European Union goods. That's over $500 billion worth of imports. From luxury cars and aircraft to wine, cheese, and yes, even the iPhone in your pocket. The message was clear: get in line or get taxed. Markets reacted instantly. The Dow dropped, the euro slid, investors scrambled. Then, silence, no tariffs, no action, just a Trump campaign aide quietly confirming they would delay implementation until July 9th. This isn't new. In fact, it's routine. In 2018, Trump declared trade wars easy to win and slapped tariffs on Chinese goods. China retaliated. Farmers in the Midwest lost billions. Trump caved, sending billions in taxpayer-funded bailouts to agriculture to hide the damage. In 2019, he threatened escalating tariffs on Mexico. Within days, he reversed course, claiming victory after Mexico agreed to vague immigration enforcement they were already doing. In 2020, amid the pandemic, he again dangled tariffs over China's head. But when it became clear how dependent U.S. hospitals were on Chinese medical supplies, he backed off. The Trump cycle is consistent: threaten tariffs, markets react, political pressure mounts, Trump folds, claims victory anyway. It's not policy. This repetitive cycle has become so baked into the system that traders gave it a name, T.A.C.O, short for Trump always chickens out. The phrase was coined jokingly in a Financial Times piece, but now it's taken seriously in economic modeling. Banks like UBS, Barclays, and Berenberg have stopped reacting to Trump's trade threats like they used to. Why? Because they've built entire forecasting models around the simple assumption that he won't go through with it. The political cost is too high. The economic backlash is immediate. And his base doesn't understand tariffs well enough to call him out when he flips, says Salomon Fiedler, a senior economist at Berenberg. In fact, UBS released a report noting that these threats typically produce a short-term dip in equities, followed by a rebound within 48 to 72 hours, as investors correctly anticipate a Trump reversal. It's not leadership, it's a predictable panic button. And analysts are cashing in on his cowardice. Let's get personal. These aren't abstract market swings. Trump's tariff theater has real-world consequences, especially for middle-class Americans already squeezed by inflation and stagnating wages. Take the latest EU tariff threat. When Trump announced the possibility of a 50% tariff, the Dow lost over 500 points in 24 hours. That's nearly $1.6 trillion in paper value gone, overnight. Apple stock fell nearly 3% on fears of retaliatory EU taxes. Economic models predicted the cost of an iPhone could spike by $250 to $400 due to retaliatory duties and supply chain reconfiguration. This isn't a drill. This is a president threatening your pocketbook for a photo op, and his allies aren't helping. When Trump's former economic advisor Kevin Hassett went on CNBC and smirked that tripling the cost of an iPhone was just a tiny tariff, he was dead serious. Let's do the math. An iPhone 15 Pro Max costs $1,199 today. A tiny tariff like Trump's could push that price to over $3,500 once you factor in cascading supply chain costs, EU retaliation, and corporate price hikes. That's not just stupid. It's economic violence against the middle class. Tariffs don't just happen with the stroke of a pen. Trump has routinely overstepped his legal authority by weaponizing outdated laws like the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 and the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, measures meant for wartime emergencies, not petty trade disputes. Multiple federal courts have already overturned key Trump-era tariffs, including those on steel and aluminum. Why? Because they violated the U.S. Constitution's Commerce Clause, which grants Congress, not the president, the power to regulate international trade. Trump doesn't care. He abuses loopholes, issues threats, and blames globalists when judges strike them down. But the reality is simple. He's a wannabe strongman with a weakman's grasp of the law. Before we dive deeper, if you're into this kind of breakdown, give the video a like, subscribe for more, and let me know your opinion in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Now, on with the video. As Trump's economic flailing continues, his war with American institutions deepens, none more so than Harvard. He's repeatedly attacked the university, calling it elitist, un-American, and even threatening to cut its endowment protections. Let's pause for context. Harvard was founded in 1636. Trump became president in 2016. One has existed for nearly 400 years. The other will be remembered as a 4-year mistake. Harvard's economists are the ones publishing peer-reviewed data on how tariffs hurt American jobs. Trump's economists? They're the ones who disappeared from public life after pushing alternative facts. When future generations study economics, they'll read from textbooks written at Harvard, not tweets written from Trump's golf cart. So here we are again, the new deadline, July 9th. Trump has promised to enact his 50% EU tariff then, he swears this time it's real. But you've seen this movie before, and spoiler alert, he's going to back down. Why? Because Senate Republicans have told him flat out they won't survive another tariff-induced recession in an election year. Because Wall Street donors have threatened to pull back from his campaign. Because voters, especially those with 401 Ks and small businesses, are starting to notice the price of his economic theater. Trump will delay again. He'll blame new negotiations or invent a fake concession from Europe. But the truth will be obvious. He chickened out, again. Donald Trump's economic strategy isn't a strategy, it's a stunt. One that costs billions. One that creates chaos. One that never ever ends in victory. The T.A.C.O cycle is real, it's damaging, and it's only going to get worse the closer we get to the election. If you're tired of leaders who bluff, backpedal, and bloat the deficit while pretending to win, it's time to call this what it is. An expensive farce run by a coward with a Twitter account. The only thing Donald Trump consistently delivers on is failure, and the markets know it. So next time he threatens a trade war, don't panic. Just remember the acronym that defines his presidency better than any slogan ever could. T.A.C.O. Trump always chickens out.